Watch carefully. Pay attention to the woman stepping out of a white bridal car outside one of the most expensive hotels in Dubai, the Burj Al Arab, at exactly 8:47 in the evening. Her name is Soledad Batongbakal. She is 24 years old. A pediatric nurse from Cebu City, Philippines. She has a rosary her mother pressed into her hands at the airport 3 years ago, and tonight, on her left hand, a wedding ring worth $420,000. $420,000. On the hand of a woman who, just this morning, still lived in a shared dormitory with a broken dryer and a window she hung laundry from because nobody ever fixed the machine on her floor. She is smiling for the cameras. Her dress catches the light. She is genuinely, completely happy. And right now, 3 floors above her, a phone is sitting face down on a white duvet in the bridal suite. It has been buzzing for 11 minutes. Nobody is in the room to read it. Nobody has seen the message. Nobody has opened the video. In 4 hours, Soledad Batongbakal will be dead. The Dubai wedding murder investigation that follows will ask one question that nobody in that glittering ballroom is prepared to answer. Who loaded the weapon? And who pulled the trigger? Stay right here. Because by the end of this video, you are going to decide for yourself which man is more responsible. And I promise you the answer is not as obvious as it looks. The alarm in room 14B of the Al-Quaz dormitory in Dubai went off at 5:50 every single morning for 3 years. Not the kind of alarm that announces a wedding day in films. Fluorescent corridor lighting seeped under the door. A shared bathroom down the hall. Someone else's laundry hanging from the window grill because the dryer had been broken for 6 weeks and 3 maintenance requests had produced absolutely nothing. Soledad Batongbakal was born the eldest of 4 children in Barangay Guadalupe, Cebu City. Her father drove a tricycle for hire. Her mother cleaned houses 3 days a week. They were the kind of poor that requires constant management. Every peso accounted for. Every expense weighed against 3 others. Soledad understood this before she turned 10. At 17 she told her parents she wanted to be a nurse. Her father was silent for a long time. Then he said, "That is expensive." Soledad said, "I know. I will figure it out." She worked at a call center from 10 at night until 6 in the morning, 3 nights a week, throughout nursing school. She graduated on a Thursday. She passed her board exams the following April. 8 months later she landed in Dubai on a work visa. Salary, $4,600 per month. Every month, without exception, she sent $900 home. Her brother Tomas's school fees. Her mother's hypertension medication. A sibling's dental surgery. All of it held together by wire transfers and 5:50 a.m. alarms. That is who Soledad was. That is the woman a very wealthy man was about to fall in love with. And that is the woman a different man decided he had the right to destroy. Ghalib Nasuri is 41 years old. 3rd son of a prominent Emirati family. Exceptionally wealthy through a property development company he built over 15 years into something worth close to $900 million. He had been married once before. It lasted 4 years. No children. The divorce was handled quietly, which is sometimes the saddest way a marriage can end. He met Soledad 10 months ago when his mother was admitted to the hospital for cardiac monitoring. Ghalib visited every evening for 5 days. On the 3rd evening his mother told him that nurse is a good person. You can tell. He had already noticed. She remembered his mother's name without checking the chart. She brought an extra pillow without being asked. On the 5th evening, as his mother was being discharged, Ghalib stopped at the ward desk and said, "My mother says you are the best nurse she has ever had." Soledad looked up and said, "She was a wonderful patient. Tell her we will miss her." He walked to the elevator. He pressed the button. Then he turned around, went back and asked if she would have coffee with him sometime. She said, "Let me give you my number." Here is his humanizing detail. Not the cars. Not the business. Not the family name. Ghalib Nasuri kept every single message Soledad ever sent him from the very beginning, because he was afraid she might one day become someone he used to know. He proposed 3 months ago at the same table where they had their second date. She said yes before he finished the sentence. Now we need to talk about the 3rd person in this story. The one who is not in Dubai. Sitting in Cebu City, Philippines at 2 in the morning, staring at a folder he has had on his hard drive for 18 months. His name is Romulo Abijuela. He is 32 years old. He dated Soledad for 2.5 years before she left for Dubai. 2.5 years of genuinely being good together. Then she left. Then the distance did what distance always does. He waited. She called less. Then one evening she told him gently that she thought they should stop trying. He did not handle it well. He handled it the way people handle things they never consented to losing. 6 months ago he found her on Instagram. He watched the photographs appear. Dinners. A man. More dinners. An engagement announcement. Then last night, wedding photographs. Soledad in ivory silk, smiling at a man who was not him, in front of a hotel that costs more per night than Romulo earns in 4 months. He opened the folder. He had opened it before and never acted on it. He looked at the wedding photographs one more time. Then, through a mutual connections shared event invitation, he found a phone number. His hands were very still. He attached the file. He typed 8 words. He pressed send at 6:47 in the evening, Dubai time. The message traveled 5,000 kilometers in under 1 second. It landed in a notification on a white duvet on the 47th floor of the Burj Al Arab. The phone buzzed twice, then went still. Downstairs, in a ballroom with 300 guests and champagne worth more per bottle than Soledad's monthly salary, the woman about to become a wife had absolutely no idea. The ballroom of the Burj Al Arab at 7 in the evening is the kind of room that makes people forget themselves slightly. 300 guests in gilded chairs. A string quartet. White roses and oud in the air. Galeb stood at the front watching the entrance with the expression of a man who had stopped trying to appear composed. His older brother Talal had placed a hand on his shoulder 20 minutes earlier and said quietly, "You are certain about this woman? You know nothing of her life before she came here." Galeb looked at him evenly and said, "I know everything I need to know." At 7:04 p.m. the doors opened. Soledad walked through them alone. Her family was in Cebu. She had no one to walk her down the aisle and she had told Caleb she would rather walk herself than have a stand-in. He had said, of course. She walked the entire length of that ballroom in ivory silk, holding sajida and jasmine flowers she had chosen specifically because they smelled like home. Halfway down the aisle, she found Caleb's face. He was not composed at all. She smiled. He smiled. 2 guests independently later described it the same way. It felt like watching something private, like the rest of the room had temporarily ceased to exist for 2 people. During the document signing, Soledad stepped out to make 1 phone call on a borrowed phone. She stood in a small alcove and called Cebu. Her brother Tomas answered on the second ring. She whispered in Cebuano so the nearby guests would not hear. She said, "I wish you were here, Tomas." He said, "Eight Sol, are you happy?" She paused, not because she was uncertain, but because she wanted to answer it properly. She said, "Yes. I really am." Tomas said, "Then I am happy too." She hung up, straightened her dress, walked back into the ballroom. She did not know it was the last phone call she would ever make to her brother. Galeb's phone was on the head table, face down. A deliberate gesture. Tonight he was not a businessman. He was a husband. The phone buzzed at 7:34. He did not look at it. It buzzed again at 7:41. He pressed the volume button through the case without turning it over and set it back down. At 10:15 in the evening, Galeb's younger cousin Rima was clearing items from the head table. She picked up his phone. The screen illuminated. A notification preview read, "Your wife is not who you." The message was cut off by the character limit. Rima looked toward the dance floor. Galeb and Soledad were just stepping onto it. Soledad was laughing at something. Galeb had his hand at the small of her back. Rima set the phone face down and walked away. The notification sat unread for 22 more minutes. At 10:47 p.m., the couple were escorted to the 47th floor. The suite had white roses in tall vases, champagne on ice, and the Dubai skyline spread through floor-to-ceiling glass like a second world. Soledad stood at the window and said quietly, to no one in particular, "I cannot believe this is real." She went to change. Closed the bathroom door. Caleb sat on the edge of the bed. He exhaled. He took out his phone for the first time since the ceremony. He saw the notification. An unknown number. A video file. 8 words. "Your wife is not who you think she is." He opened it. The video was 51 seconds long. Private footage. Not staged. Soledad's face was visible and unmistakable. The man beside her was younger. The timestamp in the corner read 18 months ago. The message beneath read, "She sent this to her boyfriend while she was already with you. Ask her about Romulo Abijuela." Caleb watched it once. Very still. He watched it again. His breathing changed. Not faster. Shallower. He opened Instagram. He typed the name. The profile was public. In older photographs, Soledad appeared leaning against this man in the way people lean against someone they have known a long time. He checked the timestamp against what he knew. They were already together when that video was made. He was already keeping her messages. And this existed while all of that was happening. The champagne glass was on the floor. He did not remember putting it there. He was standing. At 11:17 p.m., the bathroom door opened. Soledad stepped out smiling. The quiet, warm smile of someone who had been happy all day and had finally arrived at the part they were looking forward to most. She said, "I'm sorry I took so long. I wanted tonight to be." She stopped. She looked at his face. The smile disappeared. She had known this man for 10 months. She had never seen this face before. Looking at her with something that had not yet arrived at an expression because it was still deciding what it was. Caleb held up the phone. He turned the screen toward her. Said nothing. Watched her face. She recognized it in under 2 seconds. Who is Romulo Abijuela? His voice was completely, terrifyingly calm. She did not answer immediately. This was not evasion. It was the paralysis of someone who has been carrying a manageable weight for a long time and has just watched it become unmanageable in a single second. "He was my ex-boyfriend," she said. "Before Dubai. Before you. We were together for 2.5 years and then I came here and it ended. That video was a mistake. A bad week. I was lonely. I called him and asked him to delete it. He told me he had." Every word she said was true. The video was old. The relationship was over. She had not spoken to Romulo Abijuela in 16 months. She had never been unfaithful to Caleb. Not once. Not in any form. She had kept her past in the past and built something genuine. This is not deception. It is the ordinary human negotiation between who you were and who you are trying to become. And none of it made any difference in Suite 4704 at 11:19 p.m. Because the man on the edge of the bed was not hearing what she was saying. He was hearing 300 guests in a ballroom and his brother's warning and a woman who walked herself down the aisle because she had no one to walk with her. He had thought that was brave. And now that same aloneness felt like concealment. This is not a defense of what he did next. It is an explanation of how quickly love can curdle when it encounters something it cannot metabolize. At 11:21 p.m., he stood up. Soledad took one step back. She stayed because she still believed this was a conversation. She stayed because honest people believe that honesty is sufficient. That if you can make someone understand the truth clearly enough, the truth will protect you. It did not protect her. Soledad Batongbakal died at 11:26 p.m. on the 47th floor of the Burj Al Arab. She was 24 years old. She had $114 in her bank account, a brother who always answered on the second ring, and a rosary in her bridal bag on a table 6 feet from where she fell. Caleb stood in the center of the suite and looked at what he had done for 4 minutes. Then he called his brother. Talal arrived at 11:52 p.m. with 2 associates. They assessed the room with the efficiency of people accustomed to making problems disappear. A fabricated note copied from Soledad's handwriting on a wedding card she had written to Caleb. Hotel stationery. Short because short notes are harder to forensically analyze. The window was opened. The positioning was deliberate. Dubai police arrived at 12:31 a.m. and began processing a suicide. Patrol officer Walid Farouk stood in Suite 4704 and looked at the room without touching anything. The champagne glass shards were on the wrong side of the room. The roses near the balcony were too undisturbed. The note was written with an evenness that handwriting under genuine crisis almost never produces. He radioed his supervisor. "I want CID here before we move anything." His supervisor asked why. Walid said, "Because this is not what it looks like." That radio call is the reason Soledad Batongbakal got a detective instead of a case file. Detective Nawal Azuri arrived at 1:15 a.m. 14 years with Dubai police. She walked into Suite 4704 and did not touch anything for 13 minutes. She found 3 more things beyond what Walid had noted. The bridal bag closed and clasped, because a woman in her final minutes does not stop to close her bag. A handprint on the bathroom mirror smeared downward, consistent with someone being pushed rather than leaning. And the window latch wiped in a way that leaves a specific trace. Cleaned by someone who knew enough to think about fingerprints but not enough to think about everything else. Nawal said to Walid, "Good call." They began. The autopsy confirmed manual strangulation, death before the fall, defensive wounds on both hands, and male DNA under Soledad's fingernails. Nawal wrote one additional line in her case file. She was alive when she realized what was happening and she tried to survive. Forensic analysis recovered the deleted video, the messages, and one more detail. A message sent from Caleb's phone at 12:17 a.m. to the unknown number. 4 words. "It is done." He contacted the sender after her death. He wanted the sender to know. This is not a man who acted in temporary madness. This is a man who acted and then communicated the result. The unknown sender number traced to a prepaid SIM purchased in Cebu City 7 days before the wedding. Detective Ernesto Cadena went to Romulo Abijuela's apartment that morning. The door opened quickly. Romulo was dressed. He looked like a man who had been waiting for that knock. He cried quietly and continuously throughout the entire interview. He told the detective everything. The deliberate choice of the wedding night. Yes, deliberate. He wanted the damage to be total. He said, I wanted him to leave her. I wanted her to come home. The detective asked, did you think he might hurt her? Romulo was quiet for a long time. Then he said, I did not know what he would do. The detective wrote this down. Then asked the question a prosecutor would later repeat in court. But you sent it anyway. Romulo did not answer. He did not need to. Segment 10. The verdicts and what remains. The trial opened in Dubai Criminal Court on a Monday in February. Outside the courthouse, Filipino migrant worker advocates held a silent vigil every morning of the proceedings. They held photographs. Not just Soledad's. Many faces. Many names. A catalog stretching back further than this case and forward further still. Prosecutor Hessa Al-Mansouri opened with Detective Nawal Azuri's paragraph from the case summary, written in a section not required by official reporting guidelines. It read, Soledad Batongbakal had a past. She made a private decision she was not proud of and asked for it to be erased and moved forward. She built something genuine. She did not owe any man a complete accounting of her private life before she knew him. The video was not evidence of wrongdoing. It was evidence of a past. It was weaponized by a man who called the act love. It was used by a man who called his response honor. Soledad Batongbakal is dead because two men decided her history belonged to them. The record should be clear on this point. It did not. That paragraph was the sentence the jury cited as the moment they understood what this case was truly about. Talal Nasuri received 9 years for obstruction of justice, tampering with a crime scene, and accessory after the fact to first-degree murder. When the sentence was read, he closed his eyes. He opened them. He did not look at his brother. Romulo Abijuela received 14 years for conspiracy in second-degree murder, criminal harassment, and willful transmission of material with intent to cause harm resulting in death. He will be 46 at the earliest point he could leave UAE custody. He showed no reaction. He did not look back as they took him from the courtroom. Ghalib Nasuri received life imprisonment with no possibility of parole consideration for a minimum of 25 years. At the courtroom door he paused. He turned and looked at the gallery, not at his family, at a point somewhere past them that only he could see. Then the door closed. Tomas Batongbakal, 14 years old, still answers the phone on the second ring. He no longer has anyone who calls every Friday at 8:30. But he answers quickly, always as if he is still practicing. Soledad's mother visits the cemetery on the 1st of every month and plants sajida flowers at the headstone. The same flowers her daughter carried in her wedding bouquet. Chosen because they smell like home. The headstone is simple. Her name, her dates, and 4 words below them that her mother chose. She held us up. A rosary hangs above the dresser in the family home. White beads, silver crucifix. Recovered from Suite 4704 of the Burj Al Arab, catalogued as evidence, and returned to the Batongbakal family after 11 months and 3 consular letters. Rosa Batongbakal opened the package at the kitchen table and did not speak for a long time. Then she stood and placed the rosary around the frame of Soledad's graduation photograph. The white uniform. The day she became the person she had worked every night shift and borrowed every penny of her young life to become. Soledad Batongbakal was 24 years old. She was a pediatric nurse who remembered every child by name. A daughter who held a family together from 5,000 kilometers away. A sister who called every Friday without fail because a teenage boy lit up when he saw her face on the screen. She had a past. It belonged to her. 2 men decided otherwise. One in Cebu City with a hard drive and a grievance. One in a hotel suite with a phone and 43 minutes to make a different choice. Both are in prison. Both will think about her for the rest of their lives. She will not think about either of them. In a school 2 blocks from where she is buried, a boy is doing his homework carefully and completely, the way she taught him to, because she told him once that education was the one thing no one could ever take from you. He believes her. He has very good reason to. She proved it with her whole life. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more Dubai crime stories and true crime narratives from around the world. May every subscriber be blessed. Thank you for watching.